For this project, I'm using a size J 6mm crochet hook, and I'm using 4-ply yarn. I'm just using all different brands that I have. This is gonna be my scrap yarn bag. I'm just gonna use a bunch of different colors, but it's all gonna be 4-ply yarn. So, okay, what you want to do is you want to start off with a chain of 66. And you can make it bigger or smaller, but the puff V stitch needs to be done in a multiple of 3. But if you want to do it like me, I did 66. And now I'm going to slip stitch into the very first chain to form a large ring. And I want to make sure I don't twist this chain up any. So you just follow it straight, making sure it don't twist. And then slip stitch into the first one. And then you have a larger ring. Just like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to go back into the same stitch that I just slip stitched into and do a single crochet. And now I'm going to do 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around my big loop. And you want to keep it from twisting. You want to make sure you're consistently going in the same side of the chain. Like I'm putting it into the front of the chain. I want to make sure that I do put it in the front of the chain every time and don't twist it around and start putting it in the back. Otherwise, when you get to the end, it's going to be all twisted, and then you'll have to redo it, and that's happened to me, and it's no fun. I hate it. Especially when you're working with a large ring like this. That's the last thing you want, is to get back around and have to redo it all. So just put 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around, just like this. Okay, I made it back to the beginning after doing 1 single crochet in every stitch, and you want to make sure you have 66 stitches, and you want to slip stitch into the first single crochet. Not that chain 1 there. We're just going to ignore that, the first single crochet, and then count and make sure you got 66, like that. And what this is actually going to be the bottom of the bag. After we get done making it, at the end we'll go back and sew the bottom shut. Okay, now we're going to start making the puff stitches. I'm going to be working the first puff V stitch is going to go into this first stitch that we slip stitched into. So the one that your string's going through right now, this is what we're going to do. Okay, I just draw up just a little bit. I'm going to yarn over, go into the stitch that we just slip stitched into, draw up a loop, yarn over into the same stitch, draw up a loop, one more time, yarn over, draw up a loop. We did that 3 times, and we should have 7 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yarn over and go through all of them. Chain 1. Now we're going to go back into the same stitch again and do the same thing. So yarn over, drop a loop. That's 1 time. Yarn over, drop a loop 2 times. Yarn over, drop a loop 3 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loops. Yarn over and go through all of them at once, like that. Chain 1 again, and now we're going to skip 2 stitches, and then we're going to do this puff V stitch again. So skip 2, go ahead and yarn over and go into the next. Drop a loop. We'll do it 3 times. That's 1, 2, 3, and you'll have 7 loops. Yarn over and go through all 7. Chain 1, and then we'll go back in the same stitch and do it again. 1, 2, 3, 7 loops, yarn over and go through all 3, chain 1. Now we want to skip 2 chains again, and do another puff V-stitch. So this is the repeat all the way around. Skip 2 and work into the next one. Yarn over, drop a loop, that's 1. Yarn over, drop a loop, that's 2. Yarn over, drop a loop 3 times, and you should have 7 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yarn over and go through all the loops. Chain 1. Go back in the same stitch and do it again. 1, 2, 3. Go through all of them. Chain 1. So that's what it's going to kind of look like. Okay, I'm going to skip my next 2 stitches and do another puff V-stitch in the next. Chain 1 in between them. Chain 1, skip 2 stitches and work in the next one. Chain 1, skip 2, work in the next. And that's it. Now I'm going to skip 2 and do it again. And I just want to repeat this all the way around, back here to the beginning. Back around. I just did my last puff V-stitch and then I chained 1. You should have 2 stitches left if you counted right. And I'll show you how to start a new row and change colors. I'm going to change colors every row because I'm just going to use scraps of different colors that I have. But you don't have to do that. You can change colors as often as you want, or you don't even have to change colors. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to slip stitch now into the top of this first puff stitch right here. Slip stitch into it. Oops. Like that, and that closes the round off. Now I want to change colors, so I'm going to go into the middle of the next V-stitch, this one right here, the same one I guess that we're in, and go into the middle of it and slip stitch. If you wanted to use the same color, you would just slip stitch into it and continue doing the V-stitches. But I'm going to switch colors, so I'm going to go into it like I'm going to do a slip stitch, but instead of pulling out my old color, I'm going to clip it off, and I'm going to grab a different color, whatever color you want to use, and I'm going to pull it through like that. And then what I'm going to do is I usually take it and tie a little bitty loose knot in the back so it doesn't come loose. And then at the end of my project I always undo all these little knots and then I sew in the tails. So just like that. Now I got my new color and I can start again. And Now this is how we're gonna do it from now on. Pull up just a little bit. Let's go. We're gonna go right in the top of this space in between this V-stitch and do another puff V-stitch. So 3 times. We're gonna do this. Yarn over, go through all, chain 1, go in the top again, do another puff, chain 1, jump over to the next V-stitch right in the middle of it and do another V-stitch, chain 1, back in it, chain 1, jump over here to the next one, do another V-stitch. So this is how it's going to be done from now on. We're just doing V-stitches, puff V-stitches on top of the puff V-stitches from the previous row, and chaining 1 in between. Chain 1, move to the next one, and that's it. That's how it's done for the rest of the bag. Just puff V-stitches on top of puff V-stitches, and once you make it back around, you just slip stitch into the top of this puff V-stitch, and then slip stitch into the middle and start again, switching colors as often as you like. So I'm going to keep going, and I'll let you know how many rows that I do, because I'm going to do them for as tall as I want my bag to be. So I'll let you know here in a little bit how many I do. I did 15 rows, but you can make it bigger or smaller depending what size you want. Now I'm going to flip it around to the bottom here, and I'm going to sew it together. I got a slip knot on my hook, and I'm going to sew it together using single crochet. So I'm going to start with going through that slip knot on my hook, and I'm going to go into the next stitch on each piece, single crochet, the next stitch here, and the next stitch right behind it, single crochet. And I'm just going to go all the way across, single crochet in the bottom together, just like this. Now I want to do this until I get to the other side, and then I'll just tie off and hide my tail. I got my bottom sewed up. Now I'm going to go around the top here. So I want to start with the slip knot on my hook, and then you can start in any one of these stitches. I'm just going to start right here in the middle of a V-stitch, and I'm going to go ahead and go through that slip knot on my hook to start with. Now I'm going to go back into the same stitch and do a single crochet, and then I want to go right into the next space is in between the V-stitches and do 2 single crochets. And then the next space is the V-stitch. I'm going to do 1 in the middle of it, and then the next space in between the 2 singles, and then 1 single in between the V-stitch, or in the middle of the V-stitch, and then 2 singles in between 2 V-stitches, 1 single in the top of the V-stitch, and then 2 in between. So I'm just going to repeat this pattern all the way back to the beginning. Okay, I made it back around with that row of single crochet. Now I'm just going to, if you want to put a stitch marker here so you can remember your spot where you started and stopped, you can. I'm just going to stick a piece of yarn here so I know. Right here. And now we're just going to work it around. So I'm just going to jump back over here to the first single crochet that we made and single crochet in it. And I got the stitch marker there so I know where I started. And now I'm going to do one single crochet in every stitch all the way around. And I'm going to keep going around and around with however many rows of single crochet that I want the top brim part of my bag to be. So that's entirely up to you. I'll probably just do a couple rows of it. Well, just go around doing one single crochet in each stitch just like I'm doing. And then when you get back to your beginning, you just move your stitch marker up so you know where you're always at, and just keep going around. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on mine, and I'll let you know how many total rows of single crochet I do. Okay, I just did 3 rows of single crochet, but you can do more if you want. But when you get back to your stitch marker, just slip stitch into the next stitch and go ahead and tie off. And then you're going to hide your tails, which I'll do here in just a second. For the handle, you can use any kind of handle that you want. I'm just going to put a plain, kind of a plain handle on it. I'm going to set this to the side for now. But if you want to put one handle or 2 handles, it's up to you. Long handles, short handles, whatever you want. But I'm going to make a chain for as long as I want my handle. Okay, I did a chain of 75, but you can do more or less, it's up to you. Now I'm just going to double crochet in the 4th stitch from the hook, and then I'm going to do 1 double crochet in every stitch for the length of my chain. And then I'm going to sew my handle on. Okay, I got my handle made. Now I'm just sewing it on to each side with a yarn needle. It's real easy. And like I said, you do your handle however you want. This is the fun bag, so just gonna sew it real tight. Make sure that it is not gonna come off. And this is the major portion of the bag. Now next I'm just gonna I'm gonna make it fun, kind of. I'm gonna put probably make some pom-poms to put on it, and I got some beads to put on it, and then I'm gonna probably sew some buttons and maybe some tassels. So if you want to do that, go ahead, just have fun with it, and I'll show you what mine looks like when I'm finished. That's it. I finished it. I got it all decorated. I put tassels and buttons and beads, and that's all I'm going to do. So I hope yours turned out pretty cool. I'd like to see a picture of it. You can post it on my Facebook page. I'll put a link below. And don't forget to check out all my other tutorials. And until next time, have a good day.